Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about live online classroom training now. You know, the ability for employees to log on to a live classroom session with an instructor, regardless of location. A lot of learning leaders we spoke to say this is a great option, but sometimes limitations in technology can actually make it a little challenging. So, TJ, tell us, has technology impacted the effectiveness of live online classroom training for you? And how are you
Not as much as
tackling
I'd like. I think that there are significant limitations that depend upon other decisions that are made. So, for instance, we're a Microsoft shop, and we made that decision primarily on cost. You're dealing with licenses, not just for our 3,300 employees that are full-time, but a lot of part-time employees. And so that was a decision that was taken some years ago. So would I rather use WebEx than Link, or which is now Skype for Business? Yes, I would for doing that. And so sometimes I'll pay the extra money to do that, but what's available to me through the license is not as robust necessarily. So that's one challenge with technology and live online. There is that you have to work within the limitations of the technology that you have. I think the larger challenge is from a learning perspective is, you know, and Regis, you talked about this here. We're so plugged into everything there. It is almost impossible to expect that someone is not going to be checking something else while they are in the live online learning there. And so you have to figure out, you know, how you can make this compelling here. And I think for that, there's a lot of good work that's out there now pointing out how people learn and some of the myths that we have about how people learn. And so this idea of engaging people, giving them what's called interleaved practice. Okay, so here's some practice that's not all about the same concept there. You know, come back in. So constantly bringing people back in and engaging them. And so rather than decry like, oh, people's attention spans are so short, said, you know, see it as an advantage. Like you can keep on interacting with folks. And, you know, this is a tremendous advantage. And I think this is going to change the way we all do things here. Because I can be in a room where I've got 150 people here and I can say, please pull these out. They're like, pull them out. People always tell us, no, pull them out, turn them on, go on Yammer, go to this particular spot here. When I ask you questions, we're going to be immediately seeing on the screen here what your response is to it there. So I think you can use technology in ways that help with the engagement there. And so the people at home who are not in that room there, they're also on there. And so we're seeing that. We can segregate them out. Oh, you know, people at home, you appear to be going faster than we are on this. And that's really helpful.
Dennis?
Well, we started live online webinars, and for us it's working really well. I mean, people really like it. They like the interaction. I don't know if they're paying attention. You know, I'm not there, but I get the feedback. But again, if you have someone that wants to win and they have the right mindset, they're going to pay attention. Even if they pay attention to 25% of the information and they get one or two ideas, that's going to move the needle. All right. If someone's not interested, then it doesn't matter. If they're in a classroom, well, we give them live online. But what we're looking at, we've for the last 3 years have worked with avatar training, and we're using that for our commercial lenders. And as you live in an avatar world, and so they actually sign in, and a client online sits across their desk, and they have to sell them a loan. And it's pretty incredible how these programs work. There's 7 modules. We get it through a company called Omega, and they teach credit to banks, how to become a credit lender. And so that's a virtual experience. So to the brain and to the mind, it doesn't know the difference. It really thinks it's in that world. And so Dunkin' Donuts trains every one of their employees that way today. They don't have online training. It's all avatar training. It's all live. You know, it's like a game. And people walk in on the avatar world and they order coffee large with extra sugar. And you have to, in that world, create that. And they spend 2 weeks online, and then they go to their location, and it's like they've been doing it for 2 years because the mind doesn't know the difference. So we're looking at that, and next year I have pre-approval that we're actually going to create an avatar bank, and every line of business will be able to go in there and do business in the avatar world, and that's how we're going to train people as part of our training. So it's not that expensive today. Technology is pretty well. It's still $1 million, but for something like that, it would have cost you $6-7 million 5-6 years ago. I'm looking at a screen, and it's like the person sits across the desk, so you could see half your desk. You're immersed into it, and the client sits there and goes, "Hi, how you doing? I'm looking for a loan." And then you'd have to you could either do verbal or you could type in, "Well, what kind of loan are you looking for?" Oops, that's not the right question. You should have said, and so it coaches them along the way. These are pretty cool stuff, and our people are walking away saying, "I really like that because it reminded me of what and I really thought I was there. Like I actually like this lady. She's cute, you know, and it's an avatar lady. But they want to know who she is, who her voice is, because they're like, I like her voice, you know. Is there a way I can find out who she is? And I'm like, oh, you can't do that. But they really don't know. They really get into it. It's so different than a webinar avatar. That's how they train pilots. That's how they train military. It's the same because the brain doesn't know the difference between whether it's a live experience or it's a fake experience. It really thinks that it's there. And so if we're going to go anywhere, we're going to go right to that because that is the most powerful way to do it. And the technology is getting cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. And so, that's the future for us.
If I can just say something brief off of that there, is that saying by, I think it's William Gibson, the future's already here, it's just not widely distributed. When I worked for American Airlines in the mid-'80s there, simulation training was there. It's how we trained all of our pilots. If I was going down to Dallas once or twice a week there, I would meet pilots on the bus over there. I'm going in, I'm moving up from the 727 to the 737 there. But it was so expensive that it was prohibitive to extend it to anyone else. Now, flash forward to here, and you've got this, and you're going to have an avatar bank, and someone's going to rob the avatar bank.
And you hit delete. You just click delete, and they're gone. Yeah, it's just so easy.
Nice. So we started as one office on 21st Street with one floor, and now we're in 9 countries, so this is very important to us. And something that we've learned is that you want to choose the platform based on your goal. And we use Blue Jeans, we use Adobe Connect, we use Google Hangouts, but all for very different things. So for Adobe Connect, I might do a 45-minute session on going from peer to boss. And that's very useful when I have people in those 9 countries all on one session to eliminate some of the technological challenges that happen in virtual sessions. People coming in and hearing echoes, we just turn the audio off and everybody's in the chat section. Blue Jeans is great for group discussions. So like Polycom, Blue Jeans, whatever you use. For roundtables, people at BuzzFeed love talking about their challenges, and especially the people that are more stressed or challenged and have problems with time management. We want to talk about those things. And then Google Hangouts for us is that free solution. We're very much a Google shop, so we do one-on-ones constantly. What's cool about Google Hangouts is you can put a funny hat on yourself or something, and I don't know if anybody has been in there, but you can make it much more personal, and it doesn't feel like you are remote. And whenever you can get FaceTime with somebody, do that. I even show for the Adobe Connect sessions, I'll show my face in the beginning for a little while, I'll shut it down, and then I'll bring it back for the sections where I think maybe energy is waning or something like that. I see you, right? And understanding which platform works best. But we start off just using one for all of them, and we found that it didn't work so well, so just switching it up.
I think one of the ways you make your case is around the way in which the workforce is changing. And so for millennials, these are not odd things. This is a generation that was brought up on gaming. They're very familiar with it. We're using avatars a lot in assessment now. That's the cutting edge of assessment, is to use that. We're even using avatars where there are multiple avatars that someone has to deal with there, and we've got some research we're doing around how people collaborate that comes off of that. So if you can point to the demographics of the organization, and this gets back to something that both of my friends here have said, is that it's also going to engage people, and they're going to be happier doing that in some way, that you're giving them a break. I think that's one way you justify it.
Yeah, what we did with Omega is we worked on an agreement that they would give us 12 spots, because it's per spot, and you're allowed to take 7 modules, right? So we had to pay per person. So they gave us a discount, and they said, okay, well, we'll let you do a pilot. And we don't do anything in a bank unless we do a pilot. So we needed 2 things for our executive committee. We needed testimonials and results. So we picked 3 of our top salesmen. We put them in this program, and we picked 4 at the bottom. We put them in the same program. And we were told that they were selected to help us with this. And so what happened was we had the three at the top give testimonial and say, man, this is really good stuff. I really got a lot of it. And these are our best salespeople. That's it. This is good stuff. We like it. Everybody should do this. And then we had results from the bottom saying, well, did it really work? Well, we got 4 people at the bottom. One person doubled their sales. The others got at least 30% lift in their sales. So we saw an impact at the bottom, and we had testimonials from the top. Now, you're going to tell your top 3 salespeople we shouldn't bring this in? You know what I'm saying? So I'm a salesman. So my job is to back them in a corner and almost make it be silly that they say no to the concept. And so instead of me going in there, I'm like, listen, I don't know. Here's your top salesman. He said it's great bringing in. I believe him. I think it's a good idea. You have to sell this stuff. Because even if I had the president take it, he's not a commercial lender. He's not going to see value in this. So he had to depend on the people that are rainmakers to say, yes, invest in this. And then we had to show proof that it actually worked. Now we did it. For all 180 salespeople, it was like a slam dunk. It's like, yeah, do it. This is great. Because Charlie said it was great. But Charlie's the #1 salesperson. And so there's a strategy behind everything we're trying. We're trying to get money. And so you're selling that product to the bank, and they have to write $1 million checkout, $300,000 checkout. You better sell them, And so that's how we approached it.
We fish where the fish are, much where what you're saying, TJ. Understanding the technologies that people are using and using those versus having to sell and bring in new ones. And because there's so many tools that people at BuzzFeed use, we don't want to create 15 more. And so we found that one small team in tech was using Slack for collaboration, not using email at all. Email is a huge challenge for us. And so now the whole company is using Slack and kind of showing value on those real life levels. Our CMS, we create lots of quizzes for our learners. We create posts, we create videos, just using our homegrown CMS. So we don't have to, I don't have a huge budget, right? So I have to get scrappy and use the tools that are already available at BuzzFeed or for free. We use YouTube for all our online videos, our short snippets that we do. So instead of fighting that uphill battle of trying to sell all the time, certainly there's things that I fight that battle for. I try to use as much free stuff as possible, and sometimes it's better.
Mm-hmm.